Hello again, everyone. Thank you for joining another episode of Phishing Friday. My name is Jesse Hill, and I'm the president at Tier 3 IT Solutions. My co-host today is Adam.
I'm Adam Hodasik. I am a technology alignment manager here at Tier 3 IT Solutions.
Glad to have you here again. Today, we're going to be talking about protecting your critical or your sensitive data within your business. And we're going to touch a little bit on, I guess, identifying critical data, some, policies and strategies and tools that you might use to try to safeguard, access to that. So, as we typically do, I'm going to throw it over to Adam and ask him, can you really quickly and succinctly define what is critical data?
I would love to. So, critical data is any of the information, records, effectively data, that if it were to disappear when you got to work tomorrow, or was plastered all over the internet tomorrow, or was in some way, shape, or form missing, it would cause a substantial negative impact to the operation of the business. This could range from HR data on your employees. It could be intellectual property. It could be client lists. There's multiple different things that this could be. Ultimately, though, it is what you need for your business to function, and things that, if they were missing or were made publicly known, would have an immediate and negative impact on the operation of your business, or the people in your business, or any of
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah, and I mean, it could be your financials. It could be your client list. It could be your inventory. It could be your schedule. It could be, you know, contents of, email correspondence. Um, so it's a very broad term, and I think that it's getting more and more difficult for businesses to, first of all, even recognize and identify what critical data is, but let alone where it's stored. And so, an exercise to go through, first of all, is, potentially to sit with your team and work through understanding what information you have first, what is critical, where it's stored. Once you get through that, then we can start talking about ways that you would approach protecting that critical data. So, Adam, let's talk a little bit about that. What are some of the, more common technical types of standards or approaches that we would help clients protect their data?
Of course. So my favorite is backups. But there's also things such as access control. Who's allowed to see what? The location that your data is stored. Is it physically protected? Is it technologically protected? Is there a firewall on that network? Is there some kind of security software in operation? Is there some kind of monitoring tool to detect when things are compromised? Is there sufficient passwords? Is there quality passwords? All of these things play into keeping that data secure and keeping that data protected.
Yeah, I mean, you covered a lot of ground there in a really short time.
There's a lot.
Yeah, in the IT world, there's a lot of you know buzzwords that might be used, things like defense in depth, layered security, all those types of things. I'm a big fan of, illustrations and kind of visuals, getting people to think about it in a more relatable way. So, imagine, you're standing out in a field, and in your arms, you're holding $1 million in cash. And there's people, out in the out beyond the field that want access to that. Now that $1 million, that might be actual cash, or it might be something that's worth $1 million, some of your critical information. Maybe you've designed a new process, or you've got some intellectual property or a client list or something that's highly valuable. The point is, you have it, you need to protect it. So some of the things that you might do is you say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in a safe. Well, okay, a safe out in the open in a field, still is only going to last so long. You're going to go to sleep eventually. Somebody's going to come up, try to crack that safe. So you go, okay, well, obviously I can't protect it. I need a guard. Well, you have the same problem. So, okay, well, we're going to put, walls around, this place to make it harder for people to get in. Well, that guard still has to come and go. So, well, we'll put people up on the top, scouts looking to see anybody that's coming, and we'll put a big drawbridge, to allow us in and out. Well, that might work, but what if people put a ladder up against it? Well, okay, we'll stop that by digging a moat and filling it with water and alligators. Right? I mean, it's kind of a silly illustration, but when you think back to castles that are designed in this way, it is layered defenses, right? Not one of those defense mechanisms is effective on its own, right? If we didn't have the safe and the guards and the archers on the roof and the walls, and we just had a moat, it's only
It'll
a
work
matter of
for,
time before they get past that,
yeah,
right?
it'll work for a time being.
So similar to what Adam's talking about, the layers of security that we would use in a technology environment, access control. Who should have access to the information? Who can read it? Who can modify it? How are we protecting it through, even things like our antivirus, our patch strategy, our firewall. All of these things contribute to the security and the protection of that data. So imagine we have this really well thought out, well designed, security plan to protect our critical information.
State of the art.
Yeah.
All the bells and whistles.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, the one of the glaring things that sticks out in my head, maybe because I was notoriously bad for it and my kids are, but leaving the front door open.
Mm. Yeah, and I think in our world, more often than not, what Adam's referring to is human error, right? The world of technology, it changes so quickly that the typical person who's showing up, doing their job every day, may not be aware of the security policies and procedures that you have in place. They may find them restrictive. They may not, feel like they can operate within them, or they might, just get tricked into, circumventing those protective measures. So, an example of this, and we can go back a couple episodes, we talked about spoofing. So, an example that I have of this is one of the employees at a client received an email one day, and the email appeared to be from the CEO. At least the employee thought it appeared to be from the CEO. It was from our perspective, it was very clearly not from the CEO, but it was a very short message, as Adam referred to in a previous episode. It was very short. Hey, I need some information right away. Can you compile that and send it to me? And this employee, not wanting to upset the CEO, complied. Now, at first glance, she thought she was being very helpful. But when she realized what she had done, she raised the issue. She went to management, let them know she made a mistake, which was great. Brought it over to us to look to see what we could do. And unfortunately, the email had already left. It was gone. And attached to it was a listing of all of their clients with all of their payables contacts and the amounts that they owed them.
Not
So
great.
with that information, a bad actor, a malicious actor, is now able to carry out a very targeted spear phishing campaign. And this is an example of somebody who has essentially left the door open because all of these measures were in place, but they still managed to leave themselves open to this attack. So I guess the moral of the story in all of this is that, it's really important to identify your critical information, to understand, the value of it, how to protect it, and to train your people. Because all of the layers of security that we might put in place aren't going to mean anything if the people, um, you know, fall victim to one of these attacks.
I was gonna say there's never a one size fits all solution.
There is not. Any parting thoughts on this particular topic?
The it's kind of I really love your analogy there and the story because as as the hardware and the software and the protection tools have gotten better over time, um, it's turned into a case of the human sitting in front of the computer ultimately is the weakest link. Um, One of the things that I've always found interesting was um, recovering passwords. And it used to be back in the day that I had a thumb drive that had is like a 2 GB thumb drive, and on that I could recover any Windows password up to Windows XP. Um, Microsoft has since changed their policies, and now to do that same feat in the same amount of time would require a server room full of hard drives. It's that vast. It's gotten that good. Um, but if the person in front of the computer is led to believe incorrect information, that's the easiest way in.
Yeah. And that's why we do these little sessions. Hopefully, it's educational and informative, and it helps you and your team stay safe online. So, as usual, Adam, thank you for your insight and help on this. And I hope everybody watching learned something new, and appreciate your time. And we'll see you again soon.